Today, we're diving into the life and legacy of one of the most controversial figures in modern Somali history, Mohammed Farah Aidid, a man both revered and reviled, a figure who went toe-to-toe with world superpowers and became a symbol of resistance for some, and a harbinger of chaos for others. This is the story of the rise of a military man, a general who would rise from the ashes of a collapsing Somalia to challenge the world order. It's a story of ambition, of conflict, and ultimately of a legacy mired in the blood and chaos of a nation struggling to find its footing. Join me as we journey into the heart of Somalia, to unravel the life and times of Mohammed Farah Aidid, the man who dared to challenge the world. Mohammed Farah Aidid's story begins long before the world knew his name. Born into a nomadic clan in Italian Somaliland, Aidid's early life was shaped by the realities of colonialism. He joined the Somali National Army, rising quickly through the ranks thanks to his sharp intellect and even sharper ambition. By the late 1980s, Somalia was a nation on the brink. The brutal dictatorship of Siad Barre had driven the country to its knees. Opposition groups fueled by years of oppression and violence were rising up across the country. Among them was Aidid, now a seasoned military commander with a growing base of support. Aidid and his forces played a pivotal role in the overthrow of Barre in 1991. However, the victory was short-lived. Somalia descended into chaos, with rival warlords including Aidid vying for control of the shattered nation. A dark new chapter was beginning. As Somalia spiraled deeper into chaos, the world watched in horror. The images of famine and suffering became synonymous with the failed state. In 1992, the United States, under the banner of the United Nations, launched a humanitarian intervention. But Aidid, suspicious of foreign motives, saw this as a violation of Somali sovereignty. Aidid, a master of guerrilla warfare and propaganda, rallied his forces and much of the Somali population against the UN mission. He understood the power of perception, of framing the narrative. To him and many Somalis, the UN were not saviors but invaders. What began as a humanitarian effort quickly escalated into a deadly conflict. Aidid's militia, fiercely loyal and deeply embedded within the civilian population, launched a series of increasingly bold attacks against UN forces. The Battle of Mogadishu, etched into history as Black Hawk Down, would become a turning point in the conflict and cement Aidid's image as a formidable opponent. On October 3, 1993, U.S. forces launched a daytime raid into Mogadishu, aiming to capture key members of Aidid's inner circle. The mission, initially conceived as a swift and decisive operation, quickly descended into a brutal urban firefight. Aidid's militia, armed with a deep knowledge of the city and fueled by a potent mix of nationalism and anger, put up fierce resistance. U.S. soldiers, pinned down and taking heavy casualties, found themselves in a desperate fight for survival. The images of that day, the downed Black Hawk helicopters, the bodies of American soldiers being dragged through the streets, shocked the world and forever changed the way the United States viewed intervention in Somalia. In the aftermath of the Battle of Mogadishu, the United States, bruised and bloodied, withdrew from Somalia. Aidid, having stared down the world's superpower and lived to tell the tale, emerged as a symbol of resistance, a modern-day David who had faced down Goliath. He continued to evade capture, his movements shrouded in secrecy, his hold on power solidified by the fear and respect he commanded. Aidid's intelligence network, deeply woven into the fabric of Somali society, proved more effective than any satellite or high-tech surveillance. The U.S. placed a bounty on his head, but Aidid seemed to vanish into thin air, a ghost in the labyrinthine streets of Mogadishu, a constant reminder of the limits of American power. With the international community reeling and the UN mission in tatters, Aidid turned his attention to consolidating his power. In 1995, in a move that underscored his ambition and defiance, Aidid declared himself president of Somalia. However, his claim was met with little recognition outside of his own sphere of influence. Somalia remained fractured, a patchwork of fiefdoms ruled by competing warlords, each vying for a piece of the shattered nation. The dream of a unified and peaceful Somalia, a dream shared by many, seemed to slip further out of reach with each passing day. Aidid's rule, while significant, would be marked by continued instability and violence. In a cruel twist of fate, Mohammed Farah Aidid, the man who had survived countless assassination attempts and emerged from the crucible of war, would meet his end not on the battlefield, but on an operating table. In 1996, while undergoing surgery for a gunshot wound, Aidid died, leaving behind a legacy as complex and contradictory as the man himself. To some he was a nationalist hero, a man who dared to stand up to foreign powers and fight for the sovereignty of his nation. To others he was a brutal warlord, a man whose ambition and lust for power had condemned Somalia to years of bloodshed and suffering. The truth, as is often the case, likely lies somewhere in between these two extremes. Aidid's story is a cautionary tale, a reminder of the human cost of conflict and the enduring legacy of colonialism. Aidid's story is a complex one, marked by both defiance and controversy. His impact on Somalia's history is undeniable, making him a figure worth understanding in the context of global politics. He was a product of his time, shaped by the forces of colonialism, Cold War politics, and the brutal realities of internal strife. His legacy serves as a reminder of the complexities of intervention, the unintended consequences of foreign involvement in fragile states, and the enduring power of nationalism. Aidid's story, though rooted in the Horn of Africa, has global implications, forcing us to confront difficult questions about power, intervention, and the true cost of war. Even today, decades after his death, the ghost of Mohammed Farah Aidid continues to loom large over Somalia. His name evokes strong emotions, a testament to the lasting impact he had on his nation and the world.